Hello, everybody. Welcome into Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, October 22nd. We have a big show for you today. Not only is it, of course, our Rankings Tuesday, going over the NFL Power Rankings and the College Football Top 25, but we had an awesome doubleheader in football last night, a 5-touchdown masterclass from Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, a bad day for the Buccaneers, and a walk-off kick in Arizona. We also have the tip-off of the NBA season this coming later tonight. We will talk about everything that's going to happen in the NBA season, predictions, finals, and of course your NBA champion. But before we get into any of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you'd like to ask, go and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, October 22nd. But like I was saying, we are going to start off our show in the NFL talking about a doubleheader, starting off in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson goes out there in a game that was huge, a must-win for the Buccaneers after the Falcons took a loss to the Seahawks over the weekend, a game that the Bucs needed badly. The Baltimore Ravens come in and in their 5th consecutive game get the victory. Lamar Jackson had an absolute masterclass, vaulted himself, in my opinion, to the top of the MVP ladder, an MVP race that has been very muddled, very much no one taking the lead. We had possibly a Sam Darnold, possibly a, Jared Goff is someone that I think is up there. But now especially after the game that Lamar Jackson had, very similar to last season, a Monday Night Football game, vaulting him, to the top. Now, we are only just about halfway through the season now, so anything can happen, but having a nice lead, in my opinion, in the MVP race halfway through the season does mean something. Lamar Jackson starts off just a phenomenal game, and it was a weird game script by the Baltimore Ravens, right? They start off this game, they don't use a lot of Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry has been amazing, leading rusher in the NFL, leading touchdown scorer in the NFL, and we saw all of that, especially in the back end. He came in as a closer, ripped off an 80-yard run, ripped off a 50-yard run, just put down the Buccaneers when they needed them to. But I want to focus a little bit more on the Buccaneers before we continue with the Ravens, because this is a trend that I've noticed with this team when we've talked about them for the last couple of weeks. The Buccaneers, in their game against the Saints last week, in their game against the Ravens this week, in their game earlier on in their season against the Falcons, that's 3 straight weeks. 3 straight weeks where they have jumped out to an early lead. They started off the season 3-1. They jumped out to an early lead in each of these last 3 games, and they've ended up losing 2 of them. Obviously, the overtime game to the Falcons, and then this one to the Ravens. Even in the one that they won against the Saints, they let all of these teams come back against them to either tie or take the lead at some point in this game, and it's a very concerning issue. It seems like the Bucs constantly take their foot off of the gas pedal. That's 3 straight weeks where they've gotten a lead. Against the Ravens, they were up 10-0, rolling early. Looked like they were going to make it at least 13-0 when Baker Mayfield threw an interception in the end zone, and then the wheels fell off. Against the Saints, they were up 17-0. They end up losing. They end up giving up 27 straight points. That's ridiculous. You can't do that. They end up coming back and winning that game, putting up 51 points. Against the Falcons, they were up big as well at halftime, and then they let the Falcons come all the way back and win in overtime. This is a concerning trend for a team that otherwise would be, in a good position, even with all the injuries that they've suffered, especially in this game. This was a brutal game for them, not just because they were unable to hold a lead for the 3rd straight game, but because they lose not only Mike Evans, who reports are will be out until after the Week 11 bye, which sucks, but they also lose Chris Godwin for the season on a garbage time play, and it sucks. He broke his ankle on the play. He's not going to play the rest of the season. He might not even come back as a Buccaneer ever. He's going to be a free agent, and I don't know what the Bucs are going to do there. Now they're going to have to rely on the likes of McMillan, on the likes of Sterling Shepard, on the likes of Trey Palmer. These aren't your great wide receivers. You still have Cade Otton, solid tight end, but he's not going to be your number one option over there, or at least he shouldn't be your number one option over there. They have a lot of issues with the offense, and that defense is prone to giving up big plays. We saw it a lot in this game. Rashad Bateman got loose in 50 yards downfield multiple times, one of those ending up with a touchdown, the other one ending up with just a 60-yard gain, right? This was just a masterclass by Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. They managed that game well. They managed the game in such a way that, getting over to the Ravens a little bit, ESPN was concerned that Derrick Henry was hurt because he wasn't in for most of the first half, but they were using him as a closer. He's a guy that they want to use in the playoffs. Playoff football gets more physical. You want a guy like Derrick Henry, a bruiser that can just wear everybody down, especially in the playoffs. And if they can continue the way that they are playing, there is not a lot of teams that can slow down this Ravens squad. This Ravens squad is playing elite football. They have won 5 straight games. They're really good right now. Getting over to the other game. If you didn't have ESPN Plus, you didn't see it, which sucks. I don't think they should hide football games behind an extra paywall. I really don't. I honestly. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. They've been doing this for a while. They're adding it to a whole bunch of streams, but that's a whole nother conversation. I want to talk about this walk-off field goal by the Cardinals. Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray both play very different styles of game, and, obviously, at the end of the day, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals get the win, but this was nothing. This was nothing like what you expect it to be. This was a defensive battle by these two teams. The Cardinals defense showed up, and I don't know if it says more about the Cardinals defense or the Chargers offense in this one, because Justin Herbert was playing great football. He really was. He passes for almost 350 yards, but no touchdowns. Jalen Reagor was probably wide receiver 1, maybe Ladd McConkey there, but still, you have these guys that are not being viable options in the pass games. Quentin Johnson, injured. You have Josh Palmer, who I thought was going to step up big this year, has not been able to do much of anything. Will Dissly got 11 targets in this game. He was the leading receiver, going 18 targets, 11 catches for 81 yards. That is not a normal stat line for a tight end, especially one that's kind of been half buried in this depth chart with how many tight ends are participating in this Chargers offense. This was a great game by Justin Herbert, and yet again, it doesn't come out with a victory. I know there's all these Justin Herbert truthers out there, and you can lump me in with that. I'm big on the Justin Herbert boat. But the fact of the matter is, they're not winning around him. And you hate for that situation to continue to happen. But Kyler Murray didn't play a great game. He really didn't. He had that one run, that 44-yard scramble to basically put the game away. And besides that, he wasn't able to get much downfield. Marvin Harrison Jr. did not get involved in the game very much. I don't know if that's on him or on Kyler Murray. The announcers really wanted him to get the ball. They kept pointing him out on every single play. If you were watching that game, that's one of those things that I took away. They were like, what if you were the quarterback, if you were the Cardinals drawing up this play, what would you do? They did that like at least once every other drive, and they'd be like, just give the ball to Marvin Harrison, and they'd highlight him, and then he wouldn't get the ball. Or every once in a while he would get the ball. Or in the red zone, they would be like, if I'm in the red zone, you know who I'm going to rely on? Marvin Harrison. And I get it. He's an intriguing talent, but you have a lot of other things to talk about. You have a solid offense. James Conner put up an awesome game. 100 yards on the ground, another 50 through the air with a screen pass that ended up basically winning the game for them, getting it rumbling for 35 yards down the field there. After breaking a tackle, James Conner played great football. He forced a fumble as well to get an extra possession for the Cardinals. It didn't end up mattering. What really sticks out for me in this game is the fact that you don't expect the Cardinals to be able to win a gritty football game, and yet they were able to go and do that. That is a game that, with that game script, you would expect the Chargers to win. But no, the Cardinals come out on top of a gritty game, and it's just because they're able to get into the end zone. If the Chargers cannot find a way to get into the end zone, they're going to continue to lose these close games. And I understand it's the first year of the Harbaugh era, right? It's going to take a minute to get everybody in, and they're dealing with injuries. But still, they need to be able to win football games like this if they want to if they want to be respected this year like a lot of people expected them to be. This is a solid Chargers team, but it's got a lot of holes. And I pray and I hope that Justin Herbert gets the team around him that he deserves, because my God, is he an elite quarterback in this league. He just doesn't have the weapons, or when he does have the weapons, he didn't have the defense/special teams to win games. And it sucks because that just seems to happen all the time with the Chargers. But let me know what you thought of these two games. I thought they were both really good. I was very impressed by the Cardinals. I was very impressed by Justin Herbert. I was super impressed by the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, and I'm very concerned about the future of the Buccaneers. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we turn our attention to the world of basketball. NBA season tip-off is tonight. We go over our predictions. We go over playoff teams, and of course, a finals matchup and a winner. So make sure you stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.